I'm using emerging technologies to put a bit of magic basically back into people's lives, to support the spirit of place and to also get people to see and engage with spaces and places in a different way. And I've been doing this for a few years now. I mean, for about 25 years I've been working in and around different kinds of development projects and grassroots, I guess, interventions of different kinds. And now, in the last wee while, I've been focusing on, as I said, bringing together, I guess, different worlds in a certain sense to support the places where we live. So my work has involved quite a lot of work with mana whenua, so I do some work at Marae. You may have seen that on my website. I also work with lots of other random groups. We're doing some work in rest homes at the moment, lots of stuff with local youth, and it's just really just playing and having some fun, but it's really site specific, so it's a lot about helping people with those spaces and places. So I've been talking to Dan about the idea of a potential project that's in collaboration with yourselves, or some of, you know, if you choose it to be in collaboration with a group of you there. And the idea would be to do a project based around some of those notions of celebrating a space or place, or have it be quite place focused in terms of story, and creating some sort of situation where people encounter or see or relate to a space differently than they would have previously. An example of how one of those things is playing out here in Papakura, we've just got some Creative New Zealand funding to do a project which involves an audio project, and we're using GeoMobile, which uses GPS to place digital media around a town. And then essentially people, an audience, they open up this app, put their headphones on and walk around an environment, and when they get to certain spots they hear certain different kinds of audio. So working with different kinds of Māori groups, Pacifica groups and experimental musicians to kind of create a parallel reality in the town. And so Awhiworld is, on a deeper level, a little bit about generating parallel realities essentially. And so I guess any project, if it was to do an Awhiworld project, would be something that I guess plays with those themes of space and place and this idea of generating kind of an alternate view of a location, and doing something that brings a couple of different realities together that wouldn't normally mix, which is kind of something that we work with. Is that relatively clear so far? Nods? Yep. Are there questions around that?
Are the spaces like big public spaces, or are they sometimes like really small spaces that people can try use as well?
So it kind of depends what you're interested in, to be honest. It could be a whole derelict factory, or it could be a small cubby hole in a wall that looks like it could be mad and interesting and go somewhere to another reality. I don't know, up to you.
What other ways might you suggest of kind of sharing or creating alternative perceptions of a space or alternative experiences of a space?
I think things about Awhiworld is just really drawing attention to particular spaces and places, particularly those that need a bit of love, those that might be neglected or underappreciated, or somewhere where you could easily turn the table and make it much more magical than it is. So that could be, for example, the short films. Those short films could be just very simply put in virtual space, like a website. We could put them on the Awhiworld site. We could think of some other cool things to do, some sort of transmedia option around that. I mean, it's about drawing attention to the place and using that as a site, and so that's the key theme. So the tools that you use or the medium that you use to do that is kind of up to you in terms of how cool you want it to be. We're using geolocative mobile, for example, and augmented reality technologies, but we could use projective mapping, we can use lots of different other ways of doing it, or it could be just good old-fashioned filmmaking, like a small, short little videos of places where people live and just telling a story about it, or something where it assists other people to tell stories about where they live, so that people get a different picture than they would have if they just looked at it with their own eyes and made their own assumptions about it.
So do you need like what kind of device do you need to actually see these kind of other worlds?
At the moment, using smart mobile, and with particular apps that we've developed. And so you do need a phone in some of the projects, but for example, the students are just making posters about certain sites. They're quite traditional, almost old school things of that. So I wouldn't get caught so much in the technology around it. The focus is on site-specific work, about places telling stories, and about changing people's perceptions about places and kind of celebrating the spirit of that place in the bigger sense of the word. So I wouldn't get hung up so much on the technology aspect of it, but in answering to your question, at the moment it's smart devices.
Cool.
Thanks. What augmented reality apps so you say you have a one that you've developed?
There's two different kinds of, we're using quite a lot of augmented reality in our work, but that's not the only thing that we do, because it's an emerging technology, at least at the moment, to what we classify as that. Now, augmented reality, I had some people put their hands up around geolocation and stuff like that. Essentially what that is on a really general level, augmented reality is any kind of way in which you're adding to reality with usually in some way digital media, whether that be audio or visual or something. Traditionally, augmented reality is where you pick your phone up and you look through the camera viewer and you see something in front of you that you don't see with your naked eye. So it's a particular kind of graphic overlay, but we've expanded that quite a lot, and we're using a lot of audio augmented reality. There's two forms of augmented reality available now, or ways that you can trigger that kind of that being able to add something to something else. One is through geolocation, so using GPS to put stuff in sites. And the other way is through using markers. All of you know what all of you would know what a QR code is by now, right? Not?
No.
Some do.
Okay, so you'll see these black and white things on advertising, and essentially they look like little square boxes. And when you put your phone on it and take a picture of it, it leads you to a website. The technology we use uses something like that. It looks like essentially allows the camera to recognise a certain pattern and then brings up an image that you don't see with your naked eye. So it can be done through geo or it can be done through markers, and we're using both of those at the moment. In the rest home, we're making markers, and the little old ladies and little old men are making markers with us and stuff like that. For the project we're doing in Papakura, we're using geolocated mobile.
So thank you, Maggie. I think we're kind of getting a sense for what you're saying, and I'd really love you to just give us just a couple of minutes on the theme of seeing with magical eyes or seeing with different eyes.
Yeah, so the project I've been working with, whether I'm doing something in a primary school or something with students, is I encourage people, whether they be little kids or students or adults, to just kind of find a way to just look at a situation or a place with a different kind of eye. I don't know if any of you there do photography at all, but you'll know that there's a whole thing to do with people who take photos. When you take a photo, you have a certain eye or a certain view that appears through the photo. So it's really important, I think, particularly for the Awhiworld stuff, that you kind of have a bit of a magical eye. Like, you look for stuff that's the mystery in a place, you look for the hidden magic, even if it's like this scrappy little place that's got tagging everywhere and rubbish everywhere. It's like there's always some magic, there's always some mystery, there's always something there that if you look carefully, you'll find it. And I think that's about what Awhiworld is about. It's about finding magic in spaces and places that we take for granted. And on a bigger level, that also trains people to kind of not take the world for granted in a certain sense. It's like we can go to sleep. It's a little bit about waking people up.
What's one thing that you've heard just now that might inspire you, or what's one thing that you've taken away from this? Yes?
Going to different locations and hearing different audio based on you moving through an area.
Great. Going to different locations and hearing different audio based on. Can you hear what she said? Yeah, great. Nice.
Or like taking places that are still magical and have that spirit that people don't visit, like there's so many places out, like there's a place, Bethel's, a cave that is just, like it's, I tell people all the time about it, but they don't realise that it's in their backyard. So, like I've got ideas of bringing that into these empty spaces in the city, that's like
fantastic.
big magic.
Nice. Cool, guys. All right. Thank you so much, Maggie. Really, it's a pleasure to, oh, the projector is going in and out. Pleasure to just avail ourselves of your thinking and your projects, and we'll have more of a look at your sites, and really appreciate your time and sharing.
Cool. Question, you know.
Okay, thanks. See ya.